Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special update that we're giving to the community. We are going to be talking about the COVID situation and updating you on the municipal efforts that are occurring. So first, we're going to be hearing from our head of emergency management, and I'll turn the floor over to him.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. So as you know, the province of Alberta declared a state of public health emergency as additional measures are being taken to protect the health of our residents in our region and all Albertans. As a municipality, we took aggressive measures and closed community facilities on March 13th, and on March 16th, we closed all municipal facilities to deal with the public. We continue to work with our government partners, including AHS, Alberta Emergency Management Agency, and the Provincial Operations Centre to respond to COVID-19. As our region has a number of First Nations communities, we want to reassure that we're in communications with First Nations, Alberta Emergency Management field officers, and Indigenous Services Canada, First Nations Inuit Health Branch, who are the lead on organizations for the First Nations on COVID-19 in preparation and response for First Nations on reserve in Alberta. First Nations, First Nations Inuit Health Branch is working closely with Alberta Health Services and medical and public health staff on Alberta's 46 First Nations to ensure they're well informed and prepared for COVID-19. Understand that this situation is very dynamic and evolving. What was yesterday isn't today, but I stress, and it's very important to me, that all of our residents remain calm and follow public health recommendations and the steady course. Mayor and Council, our senior administration, and our CAO are in constant communications, and we continue to follow the advice and direction of Alberta Health Services. Within the community, recently we set up what's called the Vulnerable Persons Registry, and I'm very pleased to let our residents know. We contacted all of our residents, our registrants, yesterday to ensure that they're in good stead, and that program continues to work. If you're in the community and want more information on that, visit rmwb.ca/VPR. And if I can turn it over to Annette, our CAO.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, this is an evolving situation that is changing rapidly. And I appreciate that you are joining us today to stay informed and to keep up to date on the municipal response to COVID-19. I know this can be a stressful time for many community members as we follow public health recommendations and learn more about the situation unfolding around the world. We are all experiencing this together, and we will get through this difficult time as a community. I want to assure everyone that the municipality is taking this very seriously and is well positioned to deal with the impacts of COVID-19. We have been and continue to take aggressive measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and protect our community. On Monday, we announced that all municipal offices will be closed to the public and that we are transitioning to an essential service model. These steps align with the advice and recommendations made by public health officials and the federal government, and we are committed to doing our part to keep residents and employees safe while continuing to provide essential services. We are prepared with plans to ensure that we have adequate personnel and resources for emergency services, that our water and wastewater treatment plants and underground services remain operational, that transit remains available, although on a reduced schedule, and that our roads department can continue to provide maintenance. These are all key to keeping the public safe, and safety is our priority. We are also continuing to maintain our neighborhood parks, community trails, and outdoor ice rinks. We understand how important these parks and trails are to our residents, and we are working hard to maintain these for you. We will be posting signage in all of these areas to ensure the protocols of social distancing are maintained. Although our offices are closed to the public, our online services remain available. We also continue to staff Pulse around the clock and are committed to sharing information throughout our entire region as things evolve. Many of you have been following our municipal social media channels, whether it's our rural Facebook page or our RM Wood Buffalo accounts. Whenever we have news to share, we are committed to posting it on our website at rmwb.ca/COVID-19. We understand the importance of accurate information in a time like this. We have also implemented a remote work-from-home procedure that allows employees to remain engaged, productive, and supported in their daily work. There have been some service changes, including adjustments to curbside collection and recycling depots. And beginning Friday, March 20th, municipal transit services, including our smart bus services, will be operating on weekend schedules until further notice. We expect that there will be more service changes in the upcoming days as we focus resources on our response and the essential services that keep our community safe and the municipality running. As Scott has outlined, we continue to work extremely closely with our Alberta Emergency Management Agency contacts and are in regular conversations with health officials and different levels of government. We all have a role to play, and it is critical we listen to the public health recommendations to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Alberta Health Services remains the trusted authority and primary information source on public health recommendations for our region. Factual, up-to-date information will continue to be available on the AHS website. As this situation continues to evolve, please know that we are committed to sharing information with you about the municipal response as it becomes available. I recognize this is a stressful time for many people, but I have every confidence in our organization's preparation and response thus far for COVID-19. I will now turn the floor over to Mayor Scott to provide some remarks.
As you can see, there are a lot of steps being taken with respect to this issue. And the one thing I can say is Mayor and Council is extremely concerned about the safety of every resident and all those who work in this region. So every step that you're seeing being taken is to make sure that we are maximizing the safety of the people of our region. And as you can see, we are being very aggressive in the steps that we've been taking. We've noticed a huge difference between municipalities and jurisdictions that take aggressive steps and those that do not. And you can see that around the world. And we are going to continue to take steps that we believe will best protect all of you who are watching. We understand that there are a lot of concerns. One thing I want to assure everybody is that I've been in touch with the Premier's office. The Premier has been very supportive of our municipality. He's aware of what's happening up here. I was in touch with our MLA, Leila Goodrich, this morning, and it's very common that she and I are in good communication, as well as Tani Yao. We have also been in touch with our Indigenous communities and our Indigenous leadership around the region. One thing that I intend to do shortly is to make sure that we are in touch with our rural leadership. So those who are not necessarily just the leaders of the Indigenous communities and our Métis communities, but those who lead other groups in our rural areas. We want to make sure that everybody is fully informed and getting the same information, which is the best information that is out there, so that we can make sure that you're protected. I know that businesses are really struggling at this time, and I've talked to some of the business leaders. So what Mayor and Council decided yesterday is that we tasked economic development under the leadership of Kevin Weidlich to take a look at the federal aid packages and the provincial aid packages, and to come to our council with ideas that would strengthen or assist the businesses in our region. So that went out this morning, and Mr. Weidlich of Economic Development indicated that he would do that. So we are very concerned to make sure that the businesses do as well as they can through this crisis, and it's obvious that there's going to need to be a lot of help, and we're certainly grateful for not only the Premier's leadership in making sure that there's an aid package, but the federal government aid packages that have been announced to date. I want to thank all the staff of the municipality. This is a very stressful time, not only for everyone who's watching, but for our staff, because we are trying to maintain essential services and make sure that people are looked after during this very difficult time. To our senior administrative team, thank you for all the efforts. You can see, as was just mentioned, there's a lot of planning that's going into place. I feel that we are very prepared for the challenge that we're facing. And we've been through challenges before, and I believe that we can overcome this challenge just as we have in the past and come out stronger on the other side. But we are in for a challenging period in the next little while. Please take precautions. As the CIO said, the best and most trusted advice is coming from the Alberta Health Services website, and it is absolutely critical that that advice be followed. If you have any symptoms, then you need to take the appropriate measures, and we want to protect everybody in this region. I want to take a special moment to thank all the healthcare workers who are working so hard to make sure that people are protected. They have done an outstanding job, and we believe that they need all of our support. So if you happen to know any healthcare workers, please pass along my thanks as well as yours for all the work that they're doing. We have tremendous first responders in this region, and we are well positioned to make sure that the people of our region are protected. So once again, I want to thank everyone, and thank you for tuning into this update. Your Mayor and Council is getting daily updates from administration, and we are very confident in the preparations that have been taken so far, and we're going to continue to make sure that aggressive preparations are being taken and aggressive steps are being taken. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you to Annette. Thank you to Scott for your leadership, and we will be giving you further updates as we go forward, and we'll be announcing those on social media. Oh, and now we're open for questions.
We are going to start with Natalia from My McMurray. Natalia, your line is live.
Good morning. I'm just wondering if there's any steps in the process to protect our homeless population.
I can take that question. In our conversations with Alberta Health Services, there is consideration for the homeless. We have been actively engaging with our social support agencies and are working to address this issue.
Thank you.
Natalia, do you have any further questions?
Sure. Aside from communication, has anything else been done for our Indigenous communities?
I can indicate that the Indigenous leadership, several have reached out to me, so there are quite a few steps being taken, but Scott has been in direct contact and may have additional information he can provide.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Through the Emergency Management branch, we have been in touch with a number of our First Nations communities and Métis communities. As recently as this morning, we were in conversations with ACFN as well as McMurray Métis. In all of these conversations, we ensure that we engage with Alberta Emergency Management Agency, with the First Nations field officers, as well as our zone officer, just to ensure that the information that's being relayed is accurate. We're also in conversations through AMA, FNIB, and Indigenous Services Canada.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the line, we have Steph from Mix 103.7. Steph, your line is live.
Thank you. Hi there. I just wanted to know if you had an assessment center set up or if you're planning on that in the future. What would that look like?
Sure, steps have been taken in that regard, and Scott can give you a full update on that.
Thank you for the question. I'm in constant communications with Alberta Health Services. As yet, there has been no identified locations set up. I do know there's assessment centers that have been set up in the south, but because of our current caseload, which is 0, we do not have any confirmed cases in the RMWB. We have not set up a center. We, through Alberta Health Services, continue to monitoring the amount of testing that is done. That is shared with me on a daily basis. As yet, I have not received any confirmed cases. We are, however, trying to be proactive. We've identified throughout the RMWB potential sites that could be set up. Once Alberta Health Services actions that, the communications department of the RMWB and AHS communications will work as a team to share that information with all of the residents in the community.
Steph, do you have a follow-up question?
I do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the line, we have Jaron from Mix 103.7. Jaron, your line is live. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thanks. Just a couple questions. First off, just for clarification around transit services, when you mentioned weekend schedule, are they still operating Monday or Sunday to Saturday just on that weekend schedule?
This is Annette. Yes.
And curious too, you mentioned, Scott, that there have been no cases yet in the RMWB, but are additional measures going to be taken if we do see a case pop up in the near future, or are these the measures that you think are sufficient enough to help potentially stop the spread of the virus?
Thanks. As I understand it from Alberta Health Services, no, there are no cases. Yes, they are planning on, once there is an identified case, communicating that appropriately. So both our communications department and AHS communications will be in touch. As to precautions, the same precautions that you're taking right now. So washing your hands thoroughly for 20 seconds, the use of hand gel, social distancing, covering your coughs are the main way that we'll be able to stop this. As yet, no, they have not identified any escalated precautions beyond that.
Jaron, do you have any additional questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next on the line, we have Laura from the Today. Laura, your line is live. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, for Mayor Scott, I'm just wondering if you can expand at all on the financial relief we might see and just what your thoughts are on the provincial and federal plans.
Yeah, I believe this is going to have a tremendous economic impact, not only for all Canadians, but especially in our region, because we're already facing the challenge of the economic climate that we had before this crisis emerged, and the price of oil being what it is now, and the fact that we are still struggling making sure that we're getting the best price for our products in this region for our oil. So it's really going to be a challenging economic time, and we're seeing businesses that are closing. We are seeing layoffs. So whatever the federal and provincial governments announce, I'm unlikely to ever say it's going to be enough, when we're always going to be asking for more. But it's a good first step. I think every government's going to have to reevaluate as they go. And that's one of the reasons we asked Kevin Weidlich of Economic Development to keep an eye on that and to speak to the Chamber of Commerce and other stakeholders to make sure that we as a municipality are advocating for the businesses as best as we can. We want to make sure that they not only survive, but in the long run succeed and do really well. So we're going to do everything we can to support business in this region.
Laura, do you have any further questions?
Yeah, I'm also just wondering if the public council meetings are going to continue.
Sorry, you just cut out there. I think you asked if there was going to be public council meetings. Yes, the plan is to continue with public council meetings. And when I say continue with public council meetings, it may be that public participation may occur remotely. It won't necessarily mean in-person participation for everybody. And we are going to be taking steps, I anticipate, that will permit councillors to call into meetings.
Hey, Laura, I'm just going to go on to the next one, but I will come back and check in on you. Now we have Jamie from the CBC. Jamie, your line is live. Do you have any questions?
Yes. Why was the decision made to limit access to Janvier, and how is that going to be enforced?
As I understand it, the Janvier First Nations took to create a check stop as they can on their lands, and they're not, as I understand it, they're not restricting people, but they're stopping and checking to make sure that it's residents that are coming in. And I'm not aware of what questioning they're using, but I think it's to create a sense of calm in the community, that only people that are supposed to be in their community are there.
And is the RMWB going to be doing anything to support their effort?
I would suggest that no. Looking at the First Nations and the what they're doing, their entitlement to that, and I don't see any support for the from the RMWB in that.
Okay. Do you know if we're going to be seeing this kind of action from any of the other communities in the region?
I'm going to answer that in that we are in constant contact with our community partners. I have not officially heard of any other communities that have considered that type of action. As long as it's on the First Nations, they're well within their right to do that.
Okay, Jamie, we're going to go back down through the list, but I will come back to you for follow-up questions. Okay, Natalia, your line is live. Do you have any further questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
And Steph, your line is live. Do you have any further questions?
Yes, someone just commented and asked if we were going to take any measures towards closing hair salons and barber shops. Is that something on your radar?
I can take that. I can't answer that from the RMWB's perspective. That would be something that would come out of Alberta Health Services and the Premier's office.
I might be able to just follow up and assist with that. And that is exactly what the Premier said. He wanted municipalities like ours to keep an eye on what the recommendations are and to pay close attention to those so that we're consistent and being aware of what the ongoing recommendations are. So that step may come, but it's certainly not been recommended yet.
Thank you.
And now, Jaron, do you have any additional questions?
Yes, I guess just of a broad question, but to Mayor Scott, is there, I guess, any message you have to residents who are concerned regarding this pandemic right now?
My message would be to stay calm. We are very well positioned, very well prepared, given the circumstances, and we have an administrative team that is completely committed to making sure that the residents of this region are kept safe. So do not panic, stay calm. The leadership here is doing everything they can to make sure that people are protected and safe. I've spoken to the Premier's office. I have confidence that all levels of government are taking, necessary steps given the circumstances they're seeing on the ground. It may seem aggressive and it may make people a little bit nervous to see all this happening so suddenly, but that's exactly what's required to keep people safe.
And Laura, your line is live. Do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can expand a little bit on the Vulnerable Persons Registry and kind of what that entails and who can be a part of that.
Yes, glad to take that question. So back, I believe it was October, November, we launched the Vulnerable Persons Registry, or also known as VPR. So we've got a team that if there's residents anywhere in the RMWB, and I stress from Conklin up to the northern regions, that identify as a vulnerable person. And if you look at rmwb.ca/VPR, it'll outline what the requirements are of that. So for example, if somebody had severe mobility challenges, they could engage with the VPR team. And what that does is identify on a confidential basis where they are, what their supports are needed, and then in the case of an emergency, say flood, fire, or something that would impact their residents, our team can reach out to them, connect them with emergency services, so we identify where they are, also what the challenges are or disabilities, so that we can assist if required. It also allows us, as I explained, in what I'll call soft or not urgent emergencies, we can check in on them, make sure they're okay. We also have secondary contacts for each individual. So if there's difficulties reaching them, we can confirm their well-being with the secondary contact. If they do not have internet access, they can call our RMWB Pulse line and be connected with the VPR staff. And there's also a paper registry available.
And finally, Jamie, do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I just have one more for Annette. I don't know if I missed it, but what's the reason behind limiting the bus services? I know Edmonton Transit just tried this approach and had to reinstate the regular bus schedules because of the overcrowding on the buses.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm having trouble hearing.
Oh, sorry. I was just asking if you could explain the reasoning behind limiting the bus services, just because Edmonton Transit just tried limiting schedules only to reinstate the regular schedules because the buses were overcrowded.
Yes, thank you. Part of that is we have quite a few transit employees who are self-isolating, and we have a decrease in numbers as well as ridership. And so as a result of that, we've gone to this schedule. Now, it's flexible. If we find that our residents are needing increased service, we will certainly increase the transit service.
And last call, does anyone have any final questions? Hearing none, I will swing it back over to Annette, Mayor, and Scott.
Unless my colleagues want to say anything further, I just wanted to thank the members of the media and everybody who's participated in this today. Please keep yourselves safe and look out for your neighbors as best as you can, and make sure that you're following the best advice out there, which is on the Alberta Health website. And we look forward to updating residents as we go forward. All the best.